Mr Abbott made the announcement during a phone hookup with Liberal Party MPs and candidates today, and he shared it all on YouTube.
And if we want a strong economy, we've got to get taxes down, we've got to get spending down, we've got to get productivity up, and we've got to get economic growth up. And that's exactly what our plan does.
Look, I'd like to show that video as an example of what not to do. Doing the fish was this big about 5 times. I know that's supposed to look like a powerful I'm in control statement. It just looks ridiculous. Well, it's a comedy, and the other thing is this is supposed to be, you know, a mini campaign launch, but the details they launched today, they've launched previously. There was no costing on any of the, you know, very expensive paid maternity leave scheme, which I can't imagine ever getting up, on the direct carbon pricing attack that they're doing. It just didn't seem to have any substance to it. The
PM and the Leader of the Opposition are apparently doing a bit of DJ work on the weekend, doing an hour, I think, on Smooth FM. What do you think is going to be on the playlist there?
Well, Tony Abbott's trying to come across as female-friendly, of course. I personally don't think it can be positive. It's like asking a rat not to be cunning. So I think his choice will be I Am Woman, just to get right in there with the feminists. And yet there's all this, you know, woe is us, Chicken Little, the sky is falling. And I do think the responsibility lies, to a degree, in the mainstream media talking things down. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of negativity from the retail sector. I just think we need to have a little bit more connectivity between the real figures and how people are feeling.
Can you understand, though, why the retail sector may be feeling negative about it? I mean, they're losing a lot of money offshore through online sales.
Of course, but a lot of that's their own fault. They didn't jump on the online revolution early enough.
Tracy, a 6-hour performance there by Hillary Clinton. How did she fare?
I think she fared extremely well, but unfortunately, as soon as I saw that grab, I thought Fox News is going to call her shrill, the classic word that they use when a woman shows emotion or anger. At the end of the day, they called her testy and tart and questioned her intelligence. The problem is when a woman does show emotion or something like that, it is perceived negatively, unfortunately, because of this way women are viewed. You know, you see Bill Clinton, Barack Obama crying at Connecticut. You see Bob Hawke crying over his daughter's drug addiction. No one ever questions their mental stability. When Hillary Clinton cried at the New Hampshire primary, she was questioned about being mentally unstable and not strong enough to be president. I think, unfortunately, it will be perceived negatively because of a sexist context.
The thing I'd worry about, really, if we're going to be talking about Hillary Clinton as a long-term presidential prospect, is that by the time the next presidential election rolls around, I think she's going to be something like 69. You know, hilarious. I think that's the age Ronald Reagan was elected president. So really, it might just be a matter of time not being on her side rather than gender or anything else.
But Christian, no one ever questioned, sorry to interrupt, but Christian, no one ever questioned Ronald Reagan necessarily, oh, he's too old to be our president, but there's always discussion.
Throughout his cap,
not as much as they are about Hillary.
To be senile.
Not as much as they are about Hillary Clinton. I mean, all this, oh, is she well enough? She had the concussion, the clot, and all this kind of stuff.
They did that with John McCain, didn't they?
They did, that's true,
exactly.
But it's more so because she's a woman.
Dole.
Is she too old, you know?
Bob Dole copped it a bit, though, didn't he? He was about 70.
Fair enough, but I think it's different.
Is the grabs we used. You know, I think as a woman, people look at it differently. And I think, you know, people would say, oh, she's irrational, look at her, she can't, you know, can't trust her with, you know, with these sorts of jobs. And I think it's what we see a bit with Gillard as well. There is that, you know, and you do see that. And I mean, I know I'll probably get sort of, you know, shouted down for this, but I think there is, you know, there is a difference in the way men who act like that can be tough or sympathetic or whatever, and women do that, and you know, they're irrational.
But Hillary's always seen as tough. Is it possible that when she cries, it actually humanises her?
That's one thing I thought with that, because she's always been, you know, Bill's been the soft one in the relationship, in a sense. So she's always been this steely, cold, you know, pardon this, ice queen, which is another sort of sexist comment. But I think that could help her in some quarters, because it shows the emotion. She's crying when she talks about the families, etc. So, you know, but we're talking about 2016 anyway. I mean, that's a long time away.
Tracy, there was question marks over whether Hillary Clinton could have won if she got the Democratic nomination 5 years ago now. Being 4 years on the international stage as Secretary of State, is that likely to improve her chances of getting a tilt in 2016, do you think?
Definitely. Her approval rating is much better now than it was back then, and I found it very interesting, and I still find it interesting that America was ready to vote for a black man, but not necessarily a woman.
Tracy?
Diane, one thing I've noticed about a lot of people who migrate from communist countries to Australia is whenever discussion turns to particularly hard left policies, there's almost a fear of, oh dear, is communism creeping into my new adoptive country? Did you or your family have a fear about that when you came here?
Absolutely not. But then probably my parents were slightly left of centre. And so, no, they didn't have any concerns about that at all. They thought it was wonderful. My father couldn't get over the fact that this was such a fantastic country, that an engine driver had become Prime Minister. That was Ben Chifley. He thought this was just the best thing ever.